Hi, I'm Noel and I'm here to talk about therapy. Hopefully I'm going to be of use to you and you'll find it informative and helpful. So, it's like, this is the one where the whole of my profession is going to turn on me and shoot me. No, it's not. Psychotherapy is not good for everybody. And different types of psychotherapies are good for different types of things. And if you mismatch the modality, as we call it, with the condition, it can actually be harmful. So it's important to do follow what we call the evidence base. So evidence-based practice is really the key terminology here, and checking that the person that you have has the appropriate qualifications. So there's some very old myths about therapy. I have to be sitting on a couch which looks a bit like the old psychoanalytic couch, and it used to be that you'd lie back on the couch and the analyst would do what's called the blank screen approach. So they'd sit behind you, they'd never talk and all that sort of stuff. And quite appropriately, that made people completely terrified, because it would do, right? So there was a lot of anxiety around in those things. These days, therapies are different. They're not like that. Some are somatic, some are talking therapies. There's things called behavioural activation, which is just a complicated way of saying exercise. A lot of changes in health and well-being are through lifestyle, so they don't even happen in the therapy session, and some of it might be counterproductive because there's maybe a lot of shame involved. So if you've had certain forms of trauma, you'd have to be very careful about that, particularly if you've had, I'm going to use a trigger word here, if you've had something like sexual trauma, you don't just go into that stuff with somebody who doesn't know what they're doing, because you would revisit that trauma. And if there's a lot of shame involved through the experience of sexual trauma, that there may be other types of approaches that are more oblique, say some of the arts therapies approaches, where you don't have to really talk about it, but you can paint it out and so on. So it's really about matching your needs and your desired outcomes with the various evidence-based modalities and practices that exist. So that's a bit like, I'm saying the answer is a bit like, how long is that piece of string? And I apologise for that, but it is like that. You have to do the research, and ideally what you would do is, with a competent practitioner, is that you would go through all of this before you start therapy in some sort of initial assessment.